Runs out of battery. So, we're talking about language and articulation skills, and today we're focusing on pronunciation and enunciation. Again, pronunciation is saying the words correctly. Enunciation is saying it clearly. So we're going to explore sounds a little bit more as we work on that. With delivery, how we used our voice, we focused on the diaphragm. That's the muscle that fills your lungs like a pump here, right in the middle of your core. And we focused on the larynx. That's the voice box. Remember, I asked you to touch your larynx and feel the sound vibrating? Good. I love it. I love how you always just jump in and do things, Kyle. That's awesome. So with pronunciation and enunciation, we're going to be focusing on our mouths. The lips, the tongue, the teeth, and the palate. Yes, disgusting. But you're going to enter into your mouth and really experience it. Pronunciation and enunciation are in the mouth, so it's becoming aware of that very physical part of our body. Again, nothing will destroy your credibility more than mispronouncing a word. Nothing will harm the understandability of your speeches more than failing to enunciate and just sort of normally so nobody knows what you're saying. So we want to work on these things. Okay. There are two basic kinds of sounds in any language. Vowels and what?
Consonants.
Consonants, yes. And this probably sounds like first grade, and yes it is. We're kind of sinking back into first grade here. Vowels are the sounds that you make with your mouth open. I, O, I, and you can hold them. They're either long or short. And the difference between the long and short sounds is different in different languages, but they're the sounds you make with your mouth open. Consonants are the sounds that you make by closing your mouth in specific ways. There are languages that have upward of 80-some consonants. I think English has, what, about 20 or 21? Real language scholars, which I'm not, have ways of classifying and describing the consonants that are really complex. So if you Googled this, you'd get something way more complex than what I'm going to show you. But thinking about the way you use your mouth is very important in pronunciation. So we're going to divide consonants into three kinds. Dental, where you use your teeth. Labial, where you use your lips. And palatial, where you use your palate. The palate is the roof of your mouth. If you stuck your finger into your mouth behind your teeth and poked upward, you'd feel your palate, palatial. So as we continue our speaking exercises today, just become aware of which parts of your mouth you're using as you pronounce each consonant, and develop the ability to exaggerate them by really forcing yourself to use your mouth fully. So the most basic, there are three consonants that are kind of basic to these categories. The most basic dental consonant is T. If you make the T sound, you'll realize you're taking the tip of your tongue, putting it almost against your front teeth, and forcing air through that tiny little opening. The most basic labial consonant would be P, because you use your lips. You close your lips, and then you force air explosively between them as you open them up. When you are using a sound system with a sensitive microphone, the consonants P and B, which are both labial, because you're expelling air from your mouth, if you hold that microphone right in front of your mouth, it's going to make a popping or a booming sound. You've probably heard speakers do that. The textbook says this somewhere, and I've heard it. So just be aware, when you're using a sound system, those labial consonants can be murder. You don't want the microphone right in front of your lips. You want it slightly below your mouth. Anyone, any guesses as to the most basic palatial consonant? You're taking your tongue, the middle of your tongue, not the tip, and pressing it against the roof of your mouth to make the sound.
Oh.
L is definitely one of them. That is awesome. What we would call that a liquid consonant. Very good. K is also a palatial consonant. Of all the kinds of consonants, the palatials tend to get lost at the end of a word. These consonants are what we would call unvoiced, because you're not using your voice when you say them. If you add your voice to them, you get another row of consonants, D, B, and G. So you hear that? G. Same consonant, one with your voice, one without. Again, at the end of a word, like back, those are the consonants that tend to get lost. So when you're speaking in a large setting, you need to exaggerate them. Dental consonants, T in particular, tends to get lost in the middle of a word. How do those people pronounce this?
Better.
Better, right? What should it be?
Better.
Better. Beautiful. So when you're speaking in a formal situation, yes, you need to pronounce and enunciate those dental consonants in the middle of a word. And it's going to sound strange and unnatural, but it will make your speech much clearer. Of course, when you're hanging out with your friends, you're not going to do that. But when you're talking with a boss or a teacher or a customer, or some type of professional situation, better. All right. Liquid. Here's another example of region code switching. I think I've talked about these examples before. How do people in Northwest Indiana say these words? You guys did it better than what I normally hear. Like when I listen to the radio, region radio, and people are saying calumet, values, they leave out the L. Values. Pure laziness. A large part of enunciation is just being sure that you kind of slow down and take the trouble to pronounce every letter. And just sort of starting to be aware of how you're using the different parts of your mouth. Question, Kyle?
No, I was just gonna say, I think that's a lot more common like in the Chicago area.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, that's interesting. It was alien to me when I first came here. The problem with English is that often words are not pronounced the way they are spelled, right?
Yes.
Crazy, isn't it? English has to be the craziest language. That's because it's a hybrid of other languages, Latin and German, as well as other languages, even French, words that have come into English, and because it's old. Over the centuries, pronunciations have changed while spellings have not. Here's an example. What is this word?
Night.
Night. In Old English, it was probably pronounced knight. Yeah. We don't even use this sound anymore.
What does that sound?
But now we just pronounce it night. So pronunciations have changed over the centuries in English while the spellings have stayed the same. There are other languages. The national language of Indonesia, for example, every letter has one sound, and you always pronounce all of them, which makes it really easy to learn, but English is not. Here's another example. Let me try this out on you. How would you pronounce this? Just this, it's a part of a word. That has multiple pronunciations. So if you put a T on the end of it, it's ought. If you put a T in front of it, what is it? Tough. If you put a C in front of it, cough. There's probably one more, I just can't think of it. So with English, you just have to know the pronunciation of words. But in general, make this your rule of thumb. Pronounce every letter. Pronounce every letter. Pronounce every letter. So when you are practicing your interpretive recitation text, slow yourself down and really look at the words and make sure that you're pronouncing every letter as is correct in English. Right? If there's a silent E at the end of a word, of course you're not going to pronounce that. But in general, a rule of thumb, pronounce every letter. We can also look at the aspirants. Each of these categories, if you add breath to it, makes a different consonant. So T becomes TH. It's dental, unvoiced, aspirated. If you add voice to that, it's all these are all dental consonants. So a common mistake for many Americans is to pronounce TH as F. F you make by pressing your teeth against your lower lip, like Bugs Bunny. That's F, right? TH you make by sticking the tip of your tongue between your teeth. And an English speaker will hear the difference. So that's something to be aware of. So let's see, dental, labial. What do you get if you aspire a P? F. Okay, because you're using your lip. And then V if you voice it. And then the aspirants of K and G we don't use in English. You might use it in Scottish or German. Hawk up some spit in your throat. It's the German CH, right? Or Scottish. Loch, right? So some languages have those sounds, and we just don't have them anymore, so you don't have to worry about them. But again, in pronunciation and enunciation, you're just becoming really aware of how you're using your mouth. Now, let me have you do a little silly activity. With vowels, we won't talk about how to pronounce vowels, although there is one region code oddity I do want to point out, that if you're from around here, you might have to work to overcome. I know we've talked about this before. How would someone from this city say its name?
Hammond.
Yammond. Yeah. Right? No. Short A should always be open wide. In fact, it's the widest consonant. We're going to use it. Ah. You're opening your mouth wide, vertically and horizontally. Ah. Hammond. So that might sound really weird to your ears if you're from around here, but that's actually how that short A ought to be pronounced. So I want to have you do something strange that the goal of this little drill is to kind of get you accustomed to the feel of opening your mouth wider. It's going to be silly. I'll show you how to do it, but then I'll have you turn around so you're not looking at each other. Take one hand and just put it against your cheek so it's kind of close to your mouth. And you're going to say the syllable blah. Over and over again. Blah. Short A. Blah. 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 Courtney, that's perfect. What I want you to do is feel your jaw going up and down and feel your lips moving. Blah. 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 Stand up and turn around. You guys seem totally comfortable. Just go ahead, stand up and turn around. And say blah about 20 times. Just feel. Pay attention to how it feels. Blah, 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 blah. Open your mouth super wide. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, awesome. That was great. That was great. So that's just kind of a little exercise you can do. Practice. Maybe when you guys are doing your post on using speaking skills, if you have the opportunity in an ordinary conversation, practice opening your mouth wider than you're used to when you speak and just kind of like feel it. See how it feels when you do that, even if people look at you kind of funny. Okay, so what we're going to try doing now is reading out loud from a text, which is the kind of text you could use for your next assessment, your recitation. So just take a copy, and everyone's going to take one sentence, starting with Jalen, and going all the way around to Kara. So take a copy and pass it on. So take a look, let's see. Just kind of read through it. Find your word, the little words I gave you on the card. Find your word or words in this text, and you can underline them if you wish. That will be the sentence that you speak. So we're going to try using these pronunciation and enunciation skills with this text. So the sentence that your word or words are in will be the sentence you read out loud. Now this text is one of the founding documents of this nation. Most of you will probably recognize it. It was drafted in early July of 1776. When the early leaders of our country were deciding that it was time to split away from Great Britain, stop being a colony, and be our own country. And so this very philosophical, elegant, eloquent, and beautiful motion was written and then placed before, I believe, the Continental Congress and voted on. And it was drafted by Thomas Jefferson and some of his colleagues, so you'll recognize it. It is one of the really most beloved and important pieces of literature we have here in the United States. So find your sentence and read it over. What we're going to do is go around the room and read those sentences out loud. Carrie, yours is at the very end. I wanted somebody to read that last one and really wrap it up. So we're going to try this. Using your strongest pronunciation and enunciation skills. You got it. Oh, that's a good drill. We'll do that one next class. Right? That's awesome. Okay. Yes! Sam just made an outstanding observation. These are long sentences. Some of the great English writers, in a way, they were imitating classical languages like Greek and Latin because they all studied those languages. They crafted very long sentences with lots of subordinate clauses. So your challenge will be figuring out where to breathe and figuring out how to use pitch variation to convey the grammar of the sentence. Grammar, I just said it wrong. Grammar, grammar of the sentence. Did everybody get back their little cards?
Yeah, we started again.
Raise your hand if you're not yet ready to read. You still need time to think this over. Does everybody feel ready to vote? Yes, you see it.
Our words are the same sentence, so can we just...
Let me see. There might be a semicolon in between where you can stop.
Yeah, that's what we were going to ask. She has...
Oh, like I separated those? Yeah, so let's stop it here. Good observation.
So do you just want us really focusing on like pronunciating and enunciating?
Perfect. You don't really have to worry about any other delivery skills except that we need to hear you. Pronounce the words correctly. Exaggerate the enunciation so that we can hear every letter. You do not have to make eye contact. You do not have to worry about gestures. But do use pauses so that you can breathe. And try using pitch variation that will express the grammar of the sentence. Now, the logical places to pause are at commas. So where there's a comma, you can take a pause and take a breath. I'll start. I'll take the first paragraph, and then we'll go to Jalen, and we'll move around the room, just kind of letting the whole text flow.
I have my word in the first paragraph. I have my word in the first paragraph.
Okay, what word do you have?
Dissolve.
Dissolve. Okay, let's see if everything else too. You know what? Let me do this. I'll pull up the text on the with the numbers on it.
would have think it's this one.
Is this already?
I found another sentence.
Although let me just see, do you remember what number you had? Oh, try this one, in the middle of page 2.
I think that's the one I found.
Dissolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'll show you guys keep your cards.
Yeah.
I have multiple, like, sentences that when I read it, do you want me to
Do you
read
remember
everything?
do you remember which word you had?
I think it was segment. It was a segment.
He has used his essential laws, so,
Oh, okay.
great questions. I should have let you keep your cards.
Meatball.
Meatball is.
You think somebody's looking at you?
Tyranny? 6, number 6, so, top of page 2.
Settle for 150.
You just have to say your working.
Oh, man, we need
Yeah,
to do 5. I'll jump in and do it. Okay, I'll do 5. So you're gonna do the history of the present king of Great Britain, the history of the injuries and usurpations to, right? What did you have?
Oh, usurpation and burial.
Yes, okay. Let's give it a shot. Okay. Let's give it a try and see what happens. Take a deep breath. Remember, just take a deep breath before you start your sentence and breathe in the middle of it if you need to. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent